The goal with natural pregnancy prevention is simple. Know when you're fertile and when you're not. So if you're not interested in being pregnant right now, and you have no interest in ever being on hormonal birth control, and you're looking for a way for both of these choices to exist without having anxiety for the rest of your life, then I'm begging you to learn when you ovulate. If you don't know when you ovulate, you won't know when you're fertile. And if you don't know when you're fertile, you won't know when pregnancy is possible. And you'll just wind up leaving a lot up to chance. That chance carries a lot of risk. Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm a fertility awareness educator and I help women understand their cycles and prevent pregnancy naturally. By the end of this video, you're going to see why preventing pregnancy naturally can feel so confusing and what you really need to understand to go about it confidently. What we've been taught about our cycles doesn't actually match how it works. And this is why trying to prevent pregnancy naturally, meaning without any form of hormonal birth control, can feel so confusing for so many women because we're trying to go about this with the wrong information. We've been taught to focus on our period. That's the thing we track. That's the thing we stress about. That's the thing we obsess over. But your menstrual cycle doesn't revolve around your period. It revolves around ovulation. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Ovulation is the main event of your menstrual cycle, not your period. And while we're busy tracking our periods, we're completely overlooking the very thing that tells us when pregnancy is possible and when it's not: ovulation. On top of that, we're taught things like you ovulate on cycle day 14, which in theory sounds simple enough. But it's this oversimplification of the menstrual cycle and of ovulation in general that can lead to a lot of women taking unnecessary risks. Because let me tell you something, your body doesn't work on a fixed calendar. And that brings me to my next point. Ovulation doesn't happen on a fixed day each month. What I mean by that is the day when you ovulate each cycle isn't a fixed day that's set in stone, like cycle day 14, for example. Now, if you're someone who's been tracking your cycle for some time, you may have noticed a pattern or a trend that, okay, I tend to ovulate on cycle day 14 each cycle. However, what's really important for you to know is that ovulation shifts and ovulation can easily shift. Let me explain. Let's say, for example, or let's imagine that you've decided to embark on a weight loss journey and you need to go into a calorie deficit. Consuming less calories than you were previously consuming would be enough to affect ovulation. Stress can affect ovulation. Poor sleep can affect ovulation. Travel can affect ovulation. Ovulation is easily affected, or let's say influenced, by what's happening in your life and what's happening in your body. So what ends up happening is a lot of women think they know when they're fertile. They think they know when they ovulate because of this cycle day 14 rule, or perhaps after observing patterns in their own menstrual cycles. But knowing that ovulation can shift and easily shift from cycle to cycle, you can see how relying on these fixed dates and relying on averages can easily lead to you miscalculating when you're fertile. Another really important thing you need to know as someone who's trying to prevent pregnancy naturally is that you cannot get pregnant on just any random day of your cycle. Pregnancy is only possible during a very specific window of time each cycle. We actually call that window the fertile window. It includes the day of ovulation and the days leading up to ovulation as your body prepares for it. And once you ovulate, your fertile window closes pretty quickly. In fact, about 24 hours after ovulation, you are no longer fertile that cycle. The mind blowing thing about all of this is that your body actually gives you all of the signs you need to know when you're first fertile, to know when you ovulate, to know when you're no longer fertile. It's just that sadly, most of us have not been taught how to read our bodies and how to interpret these signs. And this is why I'm begging you to learn when you ovulate, so you can understand when pregnancy is possible and when it's not. So you can stop relying on fixed dates and apps and guessing games and actually understand what's happening in your body in real time. And most importantly, so you can stop feeling like you have to choose between preventing pregnancy naturally and feeling calm in your body and confident in your choice. You don't have to spend your life feeling anxious about pregnancy just because you don't want hormonal birth control. But you do have to understand your body well enough to make informed, confident decisions. So now I'm curious, were you ever actually taught how ovulation works? I'd love to know what's been the most confusing part of this for you. So let me know in the comments.